Koko sat motionless in the far corner of her enclosure, her broad back turned toward the glass, her arms folded across her chest. Her eyes, once bright, curious, childlike, were now clouded, distant. The researchers watched from a distance, hearts heavy. It had been weeks since Koko had signed anything meaningful. She had refused food, toys, even her favorite picture books. And above all, she had refused people. This wasn't just grief, it was something deeper, something darker. Koko was in mourning. She had lost her dearest companion, a fellow gorilla who had been her confidant, her playmate, her emotional anchor. And now, she simply stopped smiling. In her prime, Koko had amazed the world. She was a gorilla who spoke in silence, over 1,000 signs, and understood spoken English. She told jokes, expressed sadness, requested pets. She even grieved for a kitten. But now, there was only stillness. Every day, caretakers asked her simple questions in sign. Do you want to play? Are you hungry? Would you like company? She signed nothing. Or worse, turned her back. The team worried. Was this it? Was Koko the world's most emotionally expressive gorilla, sinking into a depression from which she might never return? They debated solutions. Bring in another gorilla, too soon. Medical intervention, too risky. Then someone, half-jokingly, floated an idea so outlandish that no one laughed. What if we introduced her to a comedian? Silence followed, then raised eyebrows. Then one name. Robin Williams. Robin Williams didn't hesitate when asked. He said yes immediately, though he had no idea what to expect. I make people laugh, he thought, but a gorilla, a grieving one, who uses sign language. Still, something pulled him in, a kind of curiosity and a sense of duty that only a man who had battled his own shadows would understand. The day arrived, no cameras, no scripts, just Robin, quietly entering the sanctuary, guided by a soft-spoken caretaker. He was told not to make sudden moves, no loud noises, just be present. As they approached the enclosure, Robin caught sight of her massive, majestic, and heartbreakingly still. Koko didn't move, didn't react, just stared. Robin lowered himself to the ground. He didn't speak, he didn't try to be funny. He waited. Minutes passed in silence. And then, Koko rose. Slowly, cautiously, she stepped forward, sniffed the air around him, touched his hair, looked into his eyes, and then she hugged him. It wasn't just a touch, it was a long, quiet, aching embrace, the kind that says, I know pain. You do too. Robin was speechless. Then Koko reached for his glasses, tried them on, took them off, tickled him, signed something playful, curious. Robin laughed, and so did she. For the first time in months, Koko laughed. The handlers stared, stunned. A grieving gorilla, a broken comedian, two beings who had never met, now rolling on the floor in a strange, beautiful ballet of joy. In that moment, no species mattered, no language, no past, only presence. That first meeting was only supposed to last a few minutes. It stretched into hours. Robin sat cross-legged on the floor, no longer thinking about performance or expectation. He wasn't acting, he was simply being. And Koko responded in kind. They played, they teased, they touched foreheads and signed small, silly things to each other. When Robin mimicked her gestures, she squealed with delight. When he let her take the lead, she led him gently into her world. The researchers, watching from behind the glass, could hardly believe it. It wasn't just that Koko was smiling again, it was who she chose to smile with. A man who, just like her, had known deep sorrow cloaked beneath bright laughter. Robin, for his part, was mesmerized. I've worked with actors, directors, animals, even puppets, he later said, but no one ever looked into me the way Koko did. She wasn't just seeing him, she was understanding him. Not the movie star, not the comedian, the person. One point, a researcher asked Koko using sign language, what word would you use to describe Robin? Koko paused, thought for a moment, and then signed a single word, friend. Robin laughed, but his eyes were wet. There it was. The simplest truth. The most human answer from someone the world still labeled animal. From that day on, they were bonded. Robin returned to visit Koko more than once. They filmed together. He became an advocate for the Gorilla Foundation. He supported their campaigns to protect wildlife and fund Koko's care. He often spoke of her, not as a novelty, but as someone he cared about, because he knew That moment, in her enclosure, when the world went silent and laughter returned, had done something for him. 2. Years passed. Koko continued her quiet life at the sanctuary, surrounded by caretakers who loved her, and an audience of the world who admired her from afar, and Robin kept making the world laugh. But behind the scenes, he was beginning to fade. Those who knew him well saw it, the weight behind his eyes, the subtle tremble in his smile. The same man who once brought joy to a grieving gorilla was now quietly losing his own battle with the shadows. In 2014, the news broke like a thunderclap. Robin Williams had passed away. It stunned the world. It silenced comedy. And somewhere in the hills of Woodside, California, it reached a gorilla. The caretakers hesitated, unsure of how to break the news. But Koko knew, even before the words were signed. She felt it. She stood still. Her shoulders dropped. Her lip trembled. Then, gently, she signed, sad, cry, and brought her hand to her cheek, the universal sign she had learned for tears. She didn't make a sound, but grief poured from her in waves. The researchers watched, overcome. This wasn't mimicry. This was mourning. Koko had lost a friend, a fellow gorilla, not a caretaker, but a human, the one who had made her laugh again when she believed she never would. That day she refused food. She didn't play. She sat in silence once more. But this time, it was not isolation. It was remembrance. Time moved gently forward. Though Koko never forgot Robin, she carried on quietly, thoughtfully, as if holding on to the memory of their bond with every slow step and every soft sign. She continued interacting with her caretakers, signing simple phrases, watching films, flipping through picture books, but her favorite moments were still the quiet ones. Sometimes, she'd lift a pair of sunglasses, a gift Robin once brought, and press them gently to her face. Other times, she would point to an old photo of the two of them and sign one word: laugh. In 2018, 4 years after Robin's passing, Koko's breath slowed. She was 46, old, by gorilla standards. Wise Baleni, on a warm June morning, she lay in the grass, head turned toward the sky, body still, as if listening for a voice she hadn't heard in years. There were no final signs, no dramatic gestures. Only peace and silence. The sanctuary grew quiet. Caretakers wept, not just for a beloved gorilla, but for the soul she had connected with. The men who taught her to laugh when the world had grown dark. Their story became legend, not just for what it said about animals, but for what it revealed about humans, that even in the quietest corners of grief, even between species, connection is possible. And sometimes, a single moment of shared laughter can echo louder than a lifetime of words. Today, there are no new photos of Koko, no new interviews with Robin, but their story lives, not in headlines or research papers, but in the quiet corners of hearts that remember. In classrooms, children still learn about Koko, not just as a gorilla who knew sign language, but as a soul who felt joy, sorrow, and the aching beauty of friendship. Teachers show footage of her laughing with Robin. They explain empathy, grief, and healing. And students, wide-eyed, ask, did she really understand him? And the answer is always the same. She understood more than most humans ever could. At the Gorilla Foundation, a framed photograph still hangs on the wall. It shows a gorilla with a smile, and a man with the gentlest eyes, two beings who never needed words to find one another. Robin Williams left behind hundreds of characters, movies, voices, standing ovations, but perhaps one of his quietest, most lasting performances was the one no audience saw, a grieving gorilla, and the first sound of her laughter after loss. And Koko, she taught the world that animals are not lesser, not voiceless, just unheard. She reminded us that love does not always wear a human face, and that sometimes the deepest conversations happen in complete silence. Their legacy is not in science, not in stardom, but in a single, sacred truth. Connection is everything.